Officers? Okay. Are we live, Tim? We are. Right. Welcome everyone to this meeting of the Finance Strategy and Management Committee. Item number 1, apologies for absence.
With apologies from the councillor.
Item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any? Public participation. To receive questions or comments from members of the public. Do we have any comments from members of the public? That's item. Item number 4, minutes. To approve the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 24th of May.
I said first. And should be 7th of June.
Oh, just wondering if that was really 6 weeks ago. And yes, we obviously overlooked that one. So what we're actually approving 6th of June. 7th of June. A proposal that we accept those. Councillor Hamilton, seconded. Councillor Hillier. All those in favour? Thank you. Item number 5, to receive dashboard papers, management accounts, summary of sale expenditure, performance updates, bank reconciliations, and summary of payments. I'd like to make a remark on the summary of payments, which is that on this agenda there isn't a payment to our energy supplier, which is Gazprom. As has been previously brought up, we continue to use Gazprom as our contracted energy supplier. This is something that we're unhappy about, and as soon as the Ukraine invasion took place, the town clerk was in contact with now the National Association of Local Councils, looking for advice on what we as a council should do in order to firstly make sure that we were both legal, but secondly that we were behaving in a way that was proper and in accordance with the values of this council of the town. And we were advised, and there has since been a response in the House of Commons by the Minister, Kemi Badenoch, regarding councils, many of them down the country find themselves in a similar position. And it's important for us to note that we not only have an obligation to behave in a way that's legal, but also in a way that represents best value. And the statement said very clearly, contracting authorities are subject to Section 17 of the Local Government Act 1988. And they should know that they're prohibited from taking into account in their procurement decisions non-commercial organisations, including the location of any country or territory, from the business activities or interests of contractors, or from terminating contracts for non-commercial reasons. And the Department of Levelling Up, Housing and Communities is considering an amendment through secondary legislation to address the issue. And this was issued on the 13th of June. And it went on to say organisations should review their contract portfolios and only proceed to terminate a contract if an alternative supplier can be sourced in line with value for money, affordability, and with minimal disruption to public services. Now, this council is still awaiting from now and from the central government guidance on the legal position, the financial position that we would be in were we to terminate the contract, as many people quite sensibly wish us to do, and we wish to do. And so we are waiting for the legal changes to take place, which enable us to consider the termination of this contract. And so I was particularly disappointed when in the Henley Standard, a councillor said that he was critical of the town clerk for not moving faster to find the town council a different gas supplier that fits the UK's current attitude to Russia. And the reality is that we should do what is right, and it shouldn't be about money. We should move the supplier to good people instead of bad people. So I'm disappointed that officers should be criticised for following the rules, investigating the options that we have, and waiting on the decisions of central government in order to enable us to take action that is legal. And I'd like to ask that councillor to take the opportunity to apologise for criticising officers, which in a way that was unreasonable and unfair. That was Councillor Hamilton. Would you like to take this opportunity?
I've got nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I would say that
Well, you have
you
got
raised
something to add.
hang on. I've got nothing further to add at this point. I would say that you had the opportunity to raise this on the 7th of June, and you didn't. However, whilst you had an HRG AGM, 3 of you got together, you then tried to arrange it at full council, a meeting I couldn't attend because I had a business commitment. At this point, I've got no further to that. If the town clerk wishes to write to me, I'll write that to him. Thank you very much.
Well, I will remind councillors that the code of conduct means that you treat people with respect.
Absolutely.
Criticising officers unfairly in contravention of the facts when they're behaving legally and in the interests of the town council, I consider to be unfair, unreasonable.
You didn't raise
And I consider to be in breach of the code. Haven't taken the opportunity to correct what you said and apologise to the town clerk and this council for suggesting that we were behaving in a way that was not right. Councillor Arnott.
Yeah, could I just say there was obviously criticism from the from our MP John Howe, and to be fair to John, he did have the courtesy of apologising to the town clerk for the words that he used. So you know, there is obviously someone in the Tory party that understands the word courtesy, Chairman.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Okay, so we're considering the dashboard papers and other finance documents. Councillor Gamble.
I will actually make one further comment. It has been a long-standing rule of this council that officers are not criticised in public or in the press. If you've got a beef with them, you have a word with them behind closed doors. And I would like to apologise to the town clerk on behalf of 15 of the 16 councillors, because I'm sure that 15 councillors will continue to uphold this high tradition that we do not criticise officers in public. I'm totally convinced that the town clerk actually does a fantastic job and will move us away from his contract when he is legally able to. It just seems to be that some people want to go down an illegal route rather than a legal route. But I apologise on behalf of 15 of the 16 councillors of this town. Thank you.
Yes, so I'd like to emphasise the town clerk's complete correctness in his approach to this issue. So thank you. Right, let's move on. To receive all the papers, do we want to do them en bloc or do people want to go through them one by one? Okay, so I therefore propose in the chair that we receive all of the papers listed in item 5. Councillor Elshack seconding. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Item number 6, expenditure.
Can I just go back to item 4B? Did we accept the minutes of the 353?
Yeah, you're quite right.
Well, not really.
Most of the time.
It's always a pleasure to be corrected by you, Councillor.
I was going to say the pleasures of yours, Chairman.
I'll leave to it. Okay, to note the minutes of the 353, 357 Reading Road Working Group. Any comments on that, or can I have a proposal that we note those minutes? Mayor, Councillor Clowns, all those in favour? Thank you. Expenditure, to consider the following items of expenditure. 3G pitch at Jubilee Park. We have a report on item 37 of the agenda. Clark, would you like to talk about that, or would the deputy secretary like to join us? Come to the table and explain it to us. Right, thank you, Kath. If you'd like to join us, do sit there. Don't stand there.
So with regard to this report, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. As previously notified to councillors, then we've been approached by the Football Foundation and they've advised that they would like us to submit an application for funding for a 3G pitch down at Jubilee Park. So having read through the documents that came through from the Football Foundation, their terms and conditions and the funding structure, the Football Foundation bear a lot of the cost of the process of applying for the funding, but there is a sum that would be required, the council would be required to pay, so we could then subsequently include that in our bid for funding from the Football Foundation. So on page 38 of your agenda, there's a table that lists the various stages of the grant application. The grant application process is supposed to take about a year itself, so we'd be looking to submit a grant application next July. And it would be at stage 4 design development. So this would basically be for a contractor. So we'd go through the process and a supplier would have been appointed before we actually know that we've got the grant from the Football Foundation. And as part of that, the supplier would be submitting a planning application for the 3G pitch, and we would need to pay for some works. This is a fixed fee from the Football Foundation, though there may be some expenses included on top of that. So I've been advised that the sum is in the region of 11,500, but it will only know once we get to that point. So hence the suggestion that we allocate up to £12,000 for the pre-contract services agreement. Also, in addition to that, there's a lot of work to prepare a bid to apply to the Football Foundation. You need a business plan for the 3G pitch and for the clubhouse. You need a football development plan to demonstrate how you'll increase the opportunity for women to play football, and also for lower socio-economic groups, and also increase football opportunities for disabled people. There's a lot of investigation, contacting other groups that may use our 3G pitch and finding out what the demand is and such like. And it was advised by the Football Foundation that we might want to appoint a bid consultant for this. They supplied a brief for the bid consultant with a very detailed list of what they would need to provide, and they also provided a list of bid consultants for us to go out to. So we received 5 bids, and these were 5 quotes, and these were considered by the 35357 Reading Road Working Group on the 24th of June. And the group scored the different applicants for the bid consultancy, and would like to recommend consultant 5. I have taken up references for this consultant, and they've both been very positive indeed. So the combination of that is the recommendation process.
Thank you, Peter. Councillor Platt, did you have a question?
I probably missed it, but did they come, I had to leave early, so sorry about that. But did they come back and clarify either 1 on 5 if they were to need more days? Like, did they think they could get it done within the quote confidently, or was that not?
I think we agreed that actually they wouldn't have put a different number of days if they thought they were going to need. That's what they quoted for. So I didn't go back to them on that.
Councillor Hamilton and Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, I raised the issue. I'm happy, absolutely happy with this recommendation. I think it would be a fantastic facility. I have raised the issue of the deputy town clerk of impact boards, and I saw Martin Unsworth again at Regatta. The college would have a use for this facility, obviously for football, but we need to make it absolutely right for all sports, contact sports. And impact boards, and I'm no specialist on impact boards, and I used to do contact sports within a particular area because you can obviously run into the fence without hurting yourselves. And if we're going down this route, that's fine, but can we just ensure that we maximise its use so it can be used for all contact sports, American football, rugby, whatever. As happens down the rugby club, they have the impact boards which can still be used for soccer.
Yes, I have spoken to the Football Foundation about this after your previous hearing. They've confirmed that we could have a shock pad put underneath the pitch at extra cost, and we need to demonstrate that we were going to have a certain amount of rugby play on the pitch. They weren't sure about impact boards, and I'm still waiting for them to come back. But the question was invited me, so I'll chase that.
Okay.
Yes, just very briefly, the consultants, which all the names were put forward by the Football Foundation. Basically, this saves the council staff doing this work, and they're going to be starting from scratch. You know, all these people, all these consultants here, you know, they've all done lots of this work in the past, so they know exactly how to do it, how long it's going to take. The question that Councillor Clark asked was that consultant 1 suggested they could do it would take 24 days, where consultant 5 said they could do it in 18 days. Yeah. So you know, we're a bit concerned, but as I say, they've all worked on Football Foundation before. In the end, you know, consultant 5 did come out the best. I think we all supported that. Everybody was at the meeting. And it is the best way forward. To say, if we start trying to do this ourselves, starting from scratch, it could take even longer than a year. And I was surprised when we spoke to the Football Foundation, they did say it's going to take so long to do it. But you know, working through all these stages, unfortunately, it does take that long. So all that said, obviously, I'd like to thank Kath again for doing the work on this, getting the original funding for £50,000. And I'd like to propose the recommendations on 6 at 6.1 and 6.2.
There's two 6.2s.
I'm seconding, and I'd just like to add that this is a perfect use for SIL money. That's exactly what SIL money should be used for. And I was actually quite surprised to see how much SIL we have unallocated. We'll have to start looking into spending that, because otherwise we'll lose it.
Yes, we lose it after 5 years. It goes, so we need to make sure that anything that's approaching 5 years is reviewed. And I can't remember if it must be in the documents that we noted earlier on the finance of the SIL report. It's usually in there. I can't remember if it still is. The only point I'd like to make is that I think the 3G pitch is something that carries universal support. It's definitely needed. It will be a useful addition, whatever the end result of the 353, 357 Reading Road project is. The 3G pitch will be a very significant asset, and is definitely needed in the town to support a range of supporting facilities. So we have a proposal. Is a seconder. Anything else, Councillor?
No, just to say, yeah, obviously it's SIL money. They are going to change SIL. They're going to change, or they're talking about change at the moment, and we may well finish with the super SIL in the future. You know, who knows?
Anything's possible. Okay, all those in favour of that proposal? Thank you.
Obviously, listen.
We always listen. Item number 6B, Christmas lights. So it is on page 43 of the agenda. And this paper is by the town centre manager. Do you want to speak on this?
Yes,
Okay, would you like to just talk us through it briefly?
certainly. So we only have the information in order to put it for this report. I think it was last Monday, and so the town centre manager did turn around the report very quickly in order to make it in time for this meeting. So as you all know, that we did have various issues with the Christmas lighting contract this past year, which we are still in dispute with the previous contractor. However, obviously we with Christmas fast approaching, just being July, then it is important that we get on with appointing a contractor for this current year, and also making sure that the faults that were realised last year are repaired in good time before this year. So what you have in front of you is a recommendation that we go with, rather than re-tendering the whole contract, because the contract hasn't changed, and because we only did the tendering process a few months ago, back last September. Then it's recommended that we go with contractors who tendered for that year, rather than being out to tender again. The advantage of this, so the price per annum is more than what's quoted. However, there is about £7,500 worth of repairs that need to take place. And the understanding is that basically if we appointed them for a 3-year contract, then they would absorb the cost of doing those repairs into the contract. So that would be a bit of a saving for the council. It is more expensive than we've had in the past. However, from doing the tendering process last year, what became apparent was that we've been getting our Christmas lighting rather cheaply for quite a few years, and that an increase in the prices was inevitable. So both myself and the town centre manager are confident that this contract would be the one to go for and would represent value for money. From a finance point of view, what makes it slightly more complicated is that the Christmas festival has its own budget, and the council basically gives us almost a grant, if you like, of 12,000 per year. The idea being that it should be they should be self-sustaining. They should hopefully generate a profit, and that profit then goes back into supporting work for the coming years. We don't have much of a surplus in there. I think we do have a small surplus in there. Yeah, a very small surplus in there. So both myself and the town centre manager are confident that that with a very well-run Christmas festival this year, then the Christmas festival budget should be able to absorb the additional lighting costs. That's certainly the plan at the moment, and that's what we will aim for. If that changes, then we will certainly bring that to the committee to discuss.
Can I just clarify the issue about the budget, which is that it's all part of the town council's overall budget, but it's mostly ring fence, so it can be separately identified, the items as a reserve.
Yes.
On the again in the management accounts that we saw. So it is part of the council when this is the council. This is town council money we're talking about. Would anyone like to speak to this or ask any questions? Councillor Hunt.
One question, it does say in this price comparison, admitting 90 trees, I quite like the 90 trees. Does it include the 90 trees, small trees?
Yes, it is an important point actually. So the trees there is.
It says there, admitting 90 small Christmas trees.
Yes, indeed. Because the idea is that because these small Christmas trees are paid for by members of the public, by businesses, then there's no net costs to the council.
I just want to make sure we get those as well.
Therefore, when you're looking at it as total expenditure,
Do we make a margin on the tree?
we do at the
Do
moment. We do
basket.
make a very small margin on the trees. I think it's about £5 per tree, which kind of covers administrative costs, really, but not much more than that.
And can I ask a further finance question? If we agree to this, you mentioned they're prepared to take on what's currently there. Can we fix the cost so that what we don't want them to do is come back when they kind of get the screwdrivers out and find out actually it's a lot more? Is it a fixed fee?
It'd be a fixed fee for 3 years.
Okay.
And they have done a full survey, and in fact they even did some small repairs for nothing as part of that survey, which is quite good.
Good. So we have a recommendation here, which is that we agree in principle with this proposal. The final details are negotiated by the town clerk with the contractor that we're going to appoint in conjunction with the chair and vice chair to so to make that proposal from second. Any other comments?
It might be worth a friendly email to Alan Moore at Medlock Lighting to see if they want to have a we sponsor the local festive lighting. They're the guys in Newtown Road Industrial Estate. But they're large, well, they're very large lighting. They might say no.
It's on the record now.
I'm sure I say
Very
yes.
simple.
I think one of the lessons that we perhaps learned from last year is that the cheapest quote isn't always best value. That happens sometimes. Okay, we have a proposal seconded, recommendation 5.1, all those in favour? Thank you. We now continue with item 7, the exclusion of public and press. So it's considered that public and press be excluded from the remainder of the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960, as publicity will be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business. So move. That's right.